Welcome back to another one. It's your boy Dueling Wave, and let's get into it.
Draw your last pathetic card so I can end this, Yugi.
My grandpa's deck has no pathetic cards, Kaiba. But it does contain the unstoppable
Dueling Wave.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the greatest TCG of all time. Prove me wrong. But even the greatest things in the world have their flaws, because nothing's perfect. Yu-Gi-Oh!, as we've heard for the 500th time this hour, it's dying. Dead, for sure. This time it's happening. The product sucks. The power creep sucks. The end boards are OP. The pull rates are trash. Non-games make up 30% of games. Dice roll decides matches. Floodgates are the name of the game, especially now in the modern day. Konami of TCG actually did something base recently, giving us Genesis format, which is awesome. But unfortunately, it still has its own issues. It's not enough, and they need to do more before the format is very, very playable. Incoming video in the future talking about my review of current Genesis format up to now. But with these problems existing, this is where FK comes in. What is FK? As longtime viewers would know, we've posted before on FK. FK is a format that's built on two pillars. The first pillar, and probably the most important pillar, is floodgates are not allowed. Not all floodgates, right? Not all floodgates are created equal. Hard floodgates, such as your skill drains, your TC boos, and all that different stuff, your Archlord Christie, all those different cards that just basically auto-win the game, those are banned. That is our first and foremost pillar of the game, for you to be allowed to play, to have an option, and not just have to draw the out. And the other pillar, number 2, and just as important, to have as many decks viable as possible competitively. Now, how do we tackle those two issues? With the first problems, meaning floodgates, we have banned essentially all of the most broken floodgates in the game. Hell, through our testing, we found that Aurora Paragon is broken. So we banned that as well. Have we banned all floodgates? There's still the occasional floodgate around, like your non-fusion area and stuff like that. But overall, most broken floodgates are gone. Even penalty game is gone. Gravity collapse, gone. Another way we deal with the floodgate bullcrap, and this pertains more to Game 2 and Game 3, is the absolute removal of the side deck. There is no side deck in FK. Side decking in theory is amazing, right? You have a tough matchup against a certain deck, so you side in some cards so that you have a better matchup against said deck. So you don't auto lose, because sometimes Yu-Gi-Oh! Can have that rock, paper, scissors matchup variation. In reality, though, all that Konami, Yu-Gi-Oh!, TCG side decking amounts to is I'm going to put in some silver bullets from my side deck going first or going second so that I can functionally auto-win this game, such as your artifact Lancias, your dimensional barriers, and I'm not defending Malice, the Lancia mentioned, but any banished deck, right? Let's say you go Infernoids back in the day. Infernoids aren't degenerate, and yet if you side in Lancias or Imperial Iron Walls, it was just over. That's what the side deck has deteriorated into in the modern day, which is freaking cringe. And how do we beat this cringe behavior? You get rid of the side deck entirely. Oh my God, Wave. That's so cheeks. How do I side in my back row hate against freaking trap card decks? I can't face a trap card deck. Oh, what about my Lancia? I need it for Malice, bro. I need it. My brother in Christ, you do not need that. If the game is balanced, enough decks are depowered and balanced out, and you have a wide variety of decks, they check each other. Also, in your main deck, it requires extremely good deck building. But in your main deck, you can main deck things like Harpy's Feather Duster, Lightning Storm, all these different cards that can help you go second, that will deal with boards, but not auto-win the game, such as your Lancias and your Imperial Iron Walls, Skill Drains, TC Boos, hell, even Droll and Lockbird. Deck building in FK is super important. If you deck build in FK like you do in TCG or Genesis, you will lose. It does not work. What this thought process, what this format allows us to do now without side decking, this philosophy, it allows us to remove certain cards from the ban list that quite frankly don't need to be there, but are only overpowered because of the side deck. Because you can put them in and then they're really powerful going second or going first. What this does is if you have to run, for example, Lightning Storm in the main, or Harpy's Feather Duster in the main, or Raigeki, or whatever, this bricks you going first a little bit, right? Our decks are now modern, so our modern decks are so hyper consistent that you really have very low chance of bricking. With these cards needed for going second in your deck, you now have a higher chance of not bricking, but just not having absolute max gas. You'll have your 1-card combo or 2-card combo to be able to resolve and make some effects, but your opponent will be able to also interrupt, because we haven't banned hand traps. They're still in the game, right? So your opponent will be able to hand trap you, and those hand traps will then be more impactful. Board breakers will be more impactful, because functionally, a board breaker going first, you're just hand looping yourself for 1. Imagine if you have evenly matched or lightning storm in your opening hand, or if you top deck into those. Horrible situation, right? The fact that you can't control when it's in your deck, whether it's in the main or the side, means that those cards become much more balanced. This also balances the charmies a little bit, as much as you can. Those cards are broken and they draw you a ton of cards, especially Fuelos. This, since they don't do anything going first, means that if you want to play them, you have to main deck them, meaning that you will sometimes brick on them going first, which then will really put that in your head, in your deck. When you're deck building, you'll really be thinking about, man, should I run this card at 3? Maybe I should run Fua at 2. That way I don't open up more than 1 going first. Do I run Fua, Perulia, Micheals? Well, probably not Micheals, but do I run Fua and Perulia in my main deck? Is this worth it? Will I brick on it? Nib, right? All these different cards, right? What are you going to do? That's where the deck building comes in. In the current TCG, all you do, or Genesis, all you do is just side them out going first, and then you're good, man. You side in like your Solemns or whatever going first card is broken, and you're just like, or Gravity Collapse in Genesis or whatever. This, removing the side deck, functionally balances your deck going first and going second. We're even now, because of this style, you promote blind second builds, which hasn't been a thing in Yu-Gi-Oh! Really for 5 years. Maybe Gem Knights is the only deck that you can say goes blind second. And let's be real, not all, majority of our most fun games that we have in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are game 1s. Game 2s and game 3s are usually just post side deck slop fests that are just, I ought to win because of my Tisubu or whatever. Now, how do we deal with the second problem? The current problem of Yu-Gi-Oh! Also is that it's 2, 3, 4 decks at the top. The last 2, 3 sets of the year are functionally what's the best, and you have to play that or something adjacent to that, or else you're not going to have any success competitively whatsoever. Well, we have an interesting take on the ban list, and that's how we deal with this problem. A way to hit decks without hitting cards per se in the standard system of limit, semi-limit, and all that stuff. The way cards are hit in this format are as follows. We have the Forbidden List. Right, we kept the Forbidden List from the normal TCG, not Genesis, but the normal TCG, because some cards are so powerful that they functionally need to be banned, or else they will be ran, such as VFD. I think Genesis proved that, right? But what our Forbidden List does, instead of functionally putting stupid cards on there like Butterfly Dagger Elma or whatever, we put broken floodgates, as mentioned before in the video. We put broken floodgates, broken FTK cards, broken 1-card combos that can lead to just some broken degenerate. We ban only the most broken, disgusting crap. So I'll go through some of the hits that we have here on the Forbidden List. And we've hit stuff like Amano Iwado. You know what I mean? You got your Amazonas Archer, your Christia, your Barrier Statues, all of them from the get-go. We hit this on version 1.0 1 year ago. Cannon Soldiers, right? Pretty much everything that's absolutely broken in this game. Sanctifier, Appaloosa, right? Because Appaloosa is functionally a floodgate as well. This card cannot exist in the game. We hit that before any other game hit it. Before TCG, before OCG, before Master Duel. We hit this on 1.0, all of the most broken cards in the game. And there's a ton. You can take a look once you join our Discord. All of the floodgates. Look at that. All of the floodgates. Just gone. Nothing is left. Even Simul Archfiends is gone. The next section that we have on our ban list is called Semi-Forbidden. Play on the words from limit to semi-limit, right? It's limited. This is forbidden-ish, right? If you guys know modern lingo. And what that means is you get to run 1 copy. Let me move myself real quick. All right. So what this means is, as you can read up here, you can run 1 copy of 1 card on the semi-forbidden list and no other cards on the semi-forbidden list. It's functionally a happy medium between limited and forbidden. So we have some really, really broken cards on here that, quite frankly, just make the game unfun. But there's also just some really overpowered cards like Habakiri, right? Guardian Chimera, Light and Darkness Dragonlord. These cards that become end board pieces that are just so powerful to get through. Your El Shaddai Winda, your Phantom of Yubel, tier limits Kit Kalos, right? So you have Kit legal. You can run Kit. If you run Kit, you cannot run anything else on this semi-forbidden list. So, and if you want to take a look at the full list, you can, as I said in the Discord, which will be talked about in a few moments. The next way we hit cards is we used to have a limited and a semi-limited section. We still do, but there are no cards on limited or semi-limited on this list. We have them left over as this is sort of an experiment to make sure that we don't need it before we completely remove it from the game, but we do not have those in use whatsoever. We have the next list is restricted 5, the next section of the list, which is a limit 5 essentially. You're allowed to run 5 total cards from this list in your main, side, and extra combined. Not 5 individual cards. You can't run Solfador, Cupsiummy, Dandelion, Queen Machinex, and Dracotel Phimena. No, it's if you want to run 3 Ash Blossom, you can run 2 Droll and Lockbird. That's it, right? 5 total cards from this list. And this is how we check the power of certain decks. By putting certain key engines, key starters, key extenders on this list here, like your Crystron Solfador, like your Gem Knight Nepirim, Fire King High Avatar Kirin, we can check these decks and not let them become too overpowered because they're functionally then denied from having the ability to have certain cards like Ash Blossom, which then can be used in worse decks, which then balances the game further. It also doesn't allow for you to mix things. If you look at Tier Elements, the most powerful deck ever made, the most overpowered deck ever made. If you look at this, so we have Tier Elements Havnus, Merly, Sheeran, Rhino Heart, Kaleido Heart, it's already 5, Rukalos, that's 6, and we even have Crime, because we found that Crime in testing was broken, because once they established their board and set up Crime, it was broken. So we have 7 cards from tier in the restricted 5, meaning that you get to choose how to build your deck. You can build it however you'd like. You have Kit, you have all of the fusers, you have Rhino Heart, and you have the fusions. Now, you get to decide how you want to build the deck instead of me telling you this card's limited or this card's banned and you can't use it. You ban yourself. The next part of the ban list that I want to talk about is the restricted 10 section, which is functionally just like limit 5, restricted 5, but it's more cards and it's a different section of the list. So out of this section, you can run 10 total cards in your deck. Meaning, if you want to run triple Aluber, triple Lancia, triple Cartesia, you can then only run 1 Bestial Druisworm because 3, 6, 9, and then you get 1 more. You have 10 total cards from the list. And this is also another way of how we keep the power level of the game at a certain level, how we don't allow certain newer decks to overpower the meta, where you have things like Dracotail Malulu, Lucius on here, meaning that if you run these at 3, which they are 3 ofs in the Dracotail deck, you only get 4 cards. So there's really busted cards out here. You have your Emergency Teleport, you have your Bonfire, you have Heavy Storm, Harpy's Feather Duster, Gold Sark, Metamorphosis, Nadir Servant, right? You have so many powerful cards. Rhoda. You can run Rhoda at 3, but not if you have a ton of cards on here, right? So you see the logic. So here we get to limit the power of Dracotail, especially here. If we look at the limit 5, you have Dracotail Flame, right? One at on the list. You also have Dracotail Phimena. You also have Rahu Dracotail, right? So you may run out of Phimena, Rahu, and Flame. You can run 5 total. Meaning that if you want to run triple Phimena, you get 1 Rahu in the deck and you get 1 Flame, right? To be fair, you run the Flame anyway. That means if you're going to run the Flame, which is your best trap card in the deck, you can only run 2 Rahu, 2 Phimena, and then you are denied Ash Blossoms, Drolls, Super Polys, all of the most busted cards in the game you're not allowed to play because you're running your really powerful engine, which is better than those generic cards, right? Definitely better than some of the other stuff that's come out a year or 2 ago, decks-wise. If you want to run the best modern decks, you're going to have to sacrifice your non-engine. You're going to have to run stuff like your Bells and your Ghost Ogres and stuff like that, as opposed to Ash Blossoms, Drolls, Molcharmies, right? We have Molcharmy, Fua, and Perulia on restricted 10 list, meaning that if you want to run 3 Fuelos, you already cut yourself off from, you only can run 7 more non-engine cards from there, right? So it's all about game balance. Now, if this all sounds really sick to you and you want to partake and see what this is about, see how much fun you can have, then go down in the description below and go to our Discord, which is what I'm doing right here. So we pop over to our Discord And when you come here, you'll be asked a few questions on what you're interested in, whether you want to play. We play Genesis, we play FK, we play TCG. TCG is on the back burner though, but we play mostly these two formats. And if you go, we have ongoing tournaments right here. We have Genesis format right here. We have FK format right here. So if you go, there's deck building help, there's testing chat, we have tiers, right? To be fair, that needs to be updated a little bit. But we have, if you go down here, you can even vote on what cards should be hit in the next upcoming ban list, which when we have trouble figuring out a certain spot for a card, we allow the people to vote. Does Konami do that? So if you go here to the FK ban list section, you'll have 2 files that you need to download. This is for Edo Pro, right? So if you go here, you go download and then download this. So the first section that says forbidden, up out of this. All right, so if we go to the desktop right here, if you go to your PC, right, wherever you installed your Project Ignis, right, because most of this stuff is on Edo Pro. We designed these lists for Edo Pro, but they do work in Omega as well. Right, so if you go to Project Ignis, you go down to repositories, you go to L lists, see all of the ban lists that you currently have for your Edo Pro. So what you do here is you take these two and you port them over into this folder, right? And then we'll just shut this out. Now we're over here at our good old Edo Pro, just to show the proof of concept. So we don't have really any deck made here, but we'll go to, so you have to use both of the lists, the forbidden and restricted list, because to avoid confusion, and it's very hard to code in Edo Pro, you can't change the code. What we've done is we've made all of the cards that are on the restricted list when you have it set up here, right? So let me move this up a little bit. There we go. So if you see up top, it says forbidden. Forbidden means only the banned cards in FK. So if we look up something like skill drain, there it is, it's banned. So you can confirm that it's banned. If you move over to restricted, skill drain is now not on the list. That does not mean it's not banned. It just means that you have to use 2 lists for this, and you'll see why. Skill drain is banned. That's why you use this list to check the banned cards, and then you use this list to check everything else. So what you do here is you have every card that is semi-forbidden, meaning limit 1 is going to have the banned little icon above it. Every card that is restricted 5, is going to have the 1, the limit number above it, right? That doesn't mean you can run it at 1. That means you have 5 total, right? Remember, keep up with me. And then anything with a 2 is restricted 10, which is the limit 10 section. So that's a way for you to easily visualize building your deck with this list. And so here, we'll go real quick and build, I don't know what deck I should build. Maybe, let's just do branded best deck, right? So we'll do FK. Why is my shift button not working, dude? Branded. All right, so clear this deck, save as, go here, branded. So we see that Lubellion is restricted, right? So we can run 5. Let's do these 3. We need 1 of this. So if you click multiple times, you can't get more than 2 if a card says 2 on it, right? That's the way it's programmed. So what you have to go is, you have to go over here. Let's move me again over Bestial Boy. We'll go to quick settings, and you go down here, scroll down, and go to more settings. And when you see more settings, you'll have nor deck edit limitation. Check this box, then X out, and now you can put more Alubers. Yay! So now we have our 3 Aluber, Kit, Tragedy. Albion is semi-forbidden, so we can only run 1 of him. Branded in white. Branded Fusion is unrestricted 5, so let's put this back. We're going to put 3 Branded Fusions in here. Branded in High Spirits. See, the Fallen and the Virtuous is restricted 5. So we're going to only run 1 of it, but then we have to cut 1 Branded Fusion because restricted 5, right? So, and you'll see why. There's a reason for it. So Branded in red, Branded Lost, semi-forbidden. If you want to run Branded Lost, you cannot run Albion. That is the way we decided to balance the branded deck. If you have a problem with it, take it up with the boss, which is me. And then what else? We need Retribution, and we need Banishment. And we'll go to the Fallen of Albaz cards. So we'll go here, give us 3 Albaz. Quem, she's on restricted 10, meaning that we have to be really careful here. So we'll put 2 Quem for now. I do want to run 1 Ecclesia for the dragon that devours the dogma. Double Cartesia, Tri-Brigade Mercurier, and remember, Sanctifier's banned. It just doesn't say it here because it's not using that list. Mirror Jade is also restricted 5, meaning You have your choice to run. You have the Fawn and the Virtuous, you have Branded Fusion, and you have Mirror Jade. You can run 5 total, and Bestial Lubellion. So if you want to cut Bestial Lubellion, you can then run more Mirror Jades and whatnot, but I choose to run him because I like what he offers. Do these two, this. Let's put a Sprint in, why not? What else? Branded in white. And then if we want Marcharmies, which are just busted, right? We're going to run, let's say, triple Marcharmy. And now, if we just organize this to make it visually appealing, make it more easy here. So we're running all of these. Oh, wait, there's an issue. We have 11 restricted 10 cards. So what we have to do, let's move myself down here. What we have to do is cut one of our cards, right? So this is unfortunate. Quem is really key at 2 of, but I think we might have to cut that card because I like Cartesia at 2. So all of a sudden we're already sacrificing something, running 1 Quem, which means we have less longevity in the deck. Then if we want to put triple Tactics Thrust in, then we have to make further sacrifices. A card that is almost synonymous with Branded. That's why it came out in the Branded Structure deck later as a reprint with artwork that's Tri-Brigade, right? So what do we cut then? You know what I mean? Do you want to cut a Charmy? Maybe, right? So do we then run 1 Thrust just to have? Maybe cut a Cartesia or an Aluber, which is crazy, but imagine cutting an Aluber for a Thrust just to be able to play through stuff. Maybe, right? And then we'll go to Fusion Duplication because we need to have that card in the deck or else the point of Thrust is stupid. And then we have, if you look right here, see how easy this is to look at? You've got 10 up top, restricted 10 cards, which are legal. You have 4 here, and then the 1 Mirror Jade down here, and you have your 1 semi-forbidden cards. Meaning, you cannot use anything else on the list, right, unless you sacrifice something else. So then we'll make maybe Raigeki, right? I know it's crazy to say, but like Raigeki might not be an option. It might be a good option at 1 because we're running the thrusts, and because it's not a restricted card, right? So we can do maybe Dark Ruler at 1. Another card that's really powerful, maybe Forbidden Droplets. Forbidden Droplets is not on any list because we find that the cost is fair enough that this card can be used, even though it's good going first or going second. So maybe triple Droplet. And so not to waste your guys' time making a full Branded build and scouring the list for 2 more separate cards, but you can, and 5 more extra deck slots, no side deck, remember? So this is kind of the idea here, right? If you're following. It's a way to limit deck's power levels without going too ham. We can do another one real quick. So we can do Draco Tail real quick. This will take literally a minute. So you go like, okay, these ones are not hit. Phimena is at limit or restricted 5. So we're going to put her here just to have a visual. Lucius, we're going to run 3 of that because it's Lucius, right? Obviously. Lulu, we're going to run 3 of that because that's obvious. Frixel, 1 Arthelion, he's semi-forbidden. You can't run more. You got 3 Gulamel. Cat 2 is at the limit 10. So we're already with all of our engine. We're almost filled up. Rahu, we'll put that here. And then Draco Tail Flame. And so now we can use, let's say, Fua, just to make it easy. So we're already at our full engine, right? We've got triple Lucius, triple Malulu, triple Ketu, 1 Fua, and then Phimena, Rahu, and Flame. You're already cut down on Rahus, and what else are you going to fill it out, right? So, and you only have 1 Arthelion, which you have to really manage your resources. The deck still is insane, right? But what we hope would balance it out was the fact that you can't now run Super Poly, right? You have no Super Poly available to you because the deck is broken. So you don't get the broken non-engine, right? And like I said, if this all seems awesome to you, follow our link, join us. We'd love to have you so you can partake in these tournaments with us and just enjoy this game again as opposed to nonsense that's going on in the TCG and waiting on Genesys a little bit here for it to get really good. And if you'd like to see future updates about this format and more of my videos, don't forget to subscribe and like the video, and I'll see ya as always.